Number 12 is the BBC News recently reported radiation levels around Fukushima are 18 times higher than previously believed. And, you know, again, it's TEPCO's numbers, which are always revised higher. And with the last few weeks where we've had kind of this escalation of events, one of the things that I found really curious is that because of a wall that was built underground to block the corium from going out into the sea, or highly contaminated water going out into the sea, effectively they've dammed up the site so that the ground is now becoming saturated. And if you have this underground, you know, corium lava field under the reactors, you have groundwater that's flowing through the site, and you have water that's continuously being poured on the reactors, and they're only collecting 300 or 400 tons of that a day. I think what we're going to see eventually is that this corium groundwater combination is going to be coming up around the site, and at that point workers aren't going to be able to be there. There's no way to protect them, especially from tritium, because tritium will go through everything. So, you know, they're really under the gun for anything that they need to do, and you know, they're going to cycle through workers continuously. There's no way to keep people on the site for long term with the kind of exposures they're getting with these numbers that we're seeing.
Lauren, how about 15, 16, 17?
At this point, 300 tons of contaminated water is pouring into the Pacific Ocean from Fukushima every single day, and that's because Japan is an island arc. The nuclear plants are built on the coastline so they can use seawater, huge amounts of water every day to cool the reactors. And the runoff from the volcanic spine of Japan is running right down to the coastline, and it's washing straight through Fukushima in that location, and just carrying, it's a constant river of radioactive water washing into the sea. Number 16, a senior researcher of marine chemistry at the Japan Meteorological Agency's Meteorological Research Institute says that, quote, 30 billion becquerels of radioactive cesium and 30 billion becquerels of radioactive strontium are being released into the Pacific Ocean from Fukushima every single day. And I bet it's a lot more than that. Number 17, according to TEPCO, a total of somewhere between 20 trillion and 40 trillion becquerels of radioactive tritium. Radioactive tritium is it's radioactive water, basically, have gotten into the Pacific Ocean since the Fukushima disaster first began.
Christina, 18, 19, 20.
According to a professor at Tokyo University, 3 gigabecquerels of cesium-137 are flowing into the port at Fukushima Daiichi every single day. Again, that's just one isotope. It's just cesium-137. Number 19, it's been estimated that up to 100 times as much nuclear radiation has been released into the ocean from Fukushima than was released during the entire Chernobyl disaster. Lauren just covered that when she talked about Chris Busby's air filter studies. And
that's an underestimation.
Yeah.
20.
20 is one recent study concluded that a very large plume of cesium-137 from the Fukushima disaster will start flowing into U.S. coastal waters early next year. Ocean simulations showed the plume of radioactive cesium released by the Fukushima disaster could begin flowing into the U.S. coastal waters starting early 2014 and peak in 2016. And again, there's so many unknowns.
It's going to kill the ocean. It absolutely is, the coastline.
Lauren, go to 21 and 22.
Okay, 21, it is being projected that significant levels of cesium-137 will reach every corner of the Pacific Ocean by the year 2020. That's because the ocean is very dynamic, and that stuff is spread all over very rapidly, but not as rapidly as in the atmosphere. 22, it is being projected that the entire Pacific Ocean will soon have cesium levels 5 to 10 times higher than what we witnessed during the era of heavy atomic bomb testing in the Pacific many decades ago. That's going to absolutely kill the fish populations.
Christina, 23, 24.
The immense amounts of nuclear radiation getting into the water in the Pacific has caused environmental activist Joe Martino to issue the following warning: your days of eating Pacific Ocean fish are over. I mean, mine were over 2 years ago.
Smart. You were ahead of the curve.
24 is the iodine-131, cesium-137, and strontium-90 that are constantly coming from Fukushima are going to affect the health of those living in the northern hemisphere for a very, very long time. Just consider what Harvey Wasserman had to say about this. Iodine-131, for example, can be ingested into the thyroid where it emits beta particles that damage tissue. A plague of damaged thyroids has already been reported by as many as 40% of the children in the Fukushima area. That percentage can only go higher. In developing youngsters, it can stunt both physical and mental growth. Among adults, it causes a wide range of ancillary ailments, including cancer. Cesium-137 has been found in fish caught as far away as California. It spreads throughout the body but tends to accumulate in the muscles. Strontium-90's half-life is around 29 years. It mimics calcium and goes to our bones.
Loren, 25 and 26.
25. According to a recent Planet InfoWars report, the California coastline is being transformed into a dead zone. The California coastline is becoming like a dead zone. And if you go to the beach, you will see that the rocks are unnaturally clean. There's hardly any kelp, barnacles, sea urchins anymore.
Killing all the microscopic forms of life.
Yes, and the tide pools are similarly devoid of crab, snails, and other scurrying signs of life. In other words, these filter feeders that are taking in very high levels and bioconcentrating them are just not able to survive. And especially compared to 10 to 15 years ago when, you had to wear tennis shoes if you went to the beach, or you'd cut the heck out of the bottom of your feet. Life is being exterminated. The ocean is going extinct.
Unbelievable.
And then it's carried into the Atlantic Ocean, and it will happen there, in the Arctic Ocean, and around the Antarctic. They're killing the entire global oceans.
26.
26 is a study conducted last year came to the conclusion that radiation from the Fukushima disaster could negatively affect human life along the west coast of North America from Mexico to Alaska for decades.
Loren, 27.
According to the Wall Street Journal, it's being projected that the cleanup of Fukushima could take up to 40 years to complete. It's never going to stop releasing in our lifetimes.
I agree. 28, Christina.
Yale professor Charles Perrow is warning that if the cleanup of Fukushima is not handled with 100% precision, that humanity could be threatened for thousands of years. And he is referring to the fuel extraction in part, which is scheduled to start in 15 days from reactor 4. They actually are currently moving the fuel from reactor 6 into the common spent fuel pool. Now, they began that in mid-October, but it took them 3 weeks just to pry off the reactor lid in reactor 6, and that reactor was supposed to be fine. It didn't have any damage that was reported, and if they found anything once they got inside that reactor, they haven't talked about it, but they're currently moving that fuel, and they're going to be moving the fuel from number 4 at the same time and around the end of November.
In the minutes we have that remain, I'd like your concluding reflections, Christina.
Well, I think this is an issue of enormous complexity, and it's difficult to really wrap your mind around it, even if you do nothing else but read about this problem day after day. And I know many people that have. Fukushima's changed their lives because they realized right from the beginning the magnitude of the disaster. And for people who are kind of overwhelmed by this, it's the only thing you have to remember is that all radiation is bad, and everything that you can do to eliminate it in your daily life is good for the long run because it's cumulative, and you kind of have to treat yourself like you're already a cancer patient and get lots of sleep and eat well and pay attention to the people who are talking about this, because it really is probably the most important issue that we've ever faced.
Loranda, summing up in a sentence or two.
Well, the effects of these nuclear technologies that have been introduced one after another, it's actually resulted in a very strange phenomenon, and that is that the oldest people in the U.S., the seniors and those over 60, are the healthiest part of the U.S. population now, and the younger populations are having worse and worse health histories and health effects, and as time goes on and they become adults, all that exposure in the womb is expressed later on in their health. And the highest increase in death rates after Fukushima was reported in basically are the soldiers who returned to Texas from the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan. They're the most exposed. They're already carrying a body burden that's almost killed them. And that little bit of Fukushima radiation just was the last straw. And so
Lorraine Moray and Christina Consolo, I can't thank you enough for being here on The Real Deal with me, even though what you're telling us is overwhelming, depressing, even catastrophic. I can't thank you enough.